Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Saturday, November 18th. I thought the boys were coming out this morning, but my son has to work, so. And I call him my other son, which is my son's fiance's brother. But he's hunted with me since he was 14 years old. He's a good kid. I mean, he's not a kid anymore, but I treat him like my other son. And the same thing, with Rob's fiance. I treat her like my other daughter. So, I mean, as it stands right now, I basically have 4 kids instead of 2, So I thought today we would kind of cover why it's so important to have good customer service out front. And why it's so important for your business in order to succeed. So stay tuned. So for me, this kind of comes down to like the chicken and the egg, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? You can be the best mechanic with the best tools and the best shop, but if you don't have any customers, you're not going to succeed. And you could be the worst mechanic in the worst shop and get known quickly, where a bunch of customers come to you because you're cheaper than everybody else, and not succeed either. And wow, what am I talking about? I'm talking about you want good quality customers. So you need to figure out how to get customers to come through your door. And customer service is what's going to win them over. You taking the time to explain stuff to them, to be honest with them, to, never talk down to them. But you have to figure out on the fly, because each customer is different. Each customer is unique, just like you are, of what that person's thought process is when it comes to getting theirs repaired. See, the big thing that a lot of places don't take into consideration or don't even think about is you're a problem solver first. All right? Customer brings in a weed eater, and their problem is it doesn't run. So now you have to be the problem solver to figure out why it doesn't run. And that's all they care about, is having you figure out how to get that thing to run. And most often, they don't say much about the price. We talked about prior videos, 80-20, 20% of your people that come in are going to give you 80% of your revenue. You've got the ones that will only come in because it's a deal, or the ones that just are window shopping if you're selling retail. But you have to find a solution for them. And they have to walk away happy. See, I know a business, and the guy he's a good guy. He's a likable guy, but the biggest problems he has is he can't be honest with customers. He tends to take on projects that are above him that he doesn't know anything about, but claims that he knows stuff about it. And he's leaving a trail of customers that are posting on the Better Business Bureau, Yelp reviews, what have you, and it's a general trend. He He promised X, Y, and Z. I paid him. He hasn't done X, Y, and Z, and I have no materials. Number 2, the guy seems like a good guy and thought he knew what I needed, and put in a 200 amp entrance that didn't pass inspection, only to find out that all there was 100 amp coming to the system, and that the guy had to hire somebody else because this guy told him that it cost him more money if he had to come in and fix his mistakes. So the guy hired somebody else and paid more than what he would have already, and to get it fixed right. Another one on Yelp of he needs to come back and make this job right and finish the project because I paid him. I haven't seen him in 4 months. Now, is that somebody that you want to reach out and do business with to do things on your home or help build part of your home or garage or what have you? And I tried working with him a little bit. I told him, I said, you're not a bad person, but you're better than this. And my advice is simple to you. Is number 1, stop lying to your customers. That simple. Because anytime any of them called or I called, it was always another excuse, or I'm on hard times, or what have you. And I tried to explain to him, most of us have seen hard times. Most of us have had to sell stuff, assets, to get by. You're not unique in that way. You're not the first one if you're struggling. But if you stop making excuses and avoiding customers that have already paid you to do a job, is one step forward to start talking to them. Start being honest with them. Okay? Now, I'll be honest with you. I paid the guy for siding and paid him for the materials and half his time. And what I ended up with is no materials and no work done. And he claims this has been 2.5 months. And it was, I bought the siding, I already have the siding, then it's, well, they didn't get the order in, so I ordered it somewhere else. It's always an excuse. Instead of being honest, that he spent the money elsewhere. And the odd thing is had the guy come to me and said, look, I'm really on hard times, and got a young family. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet this month. And I'd have given him the money. If he had come to me and just honestly said what was going on in his life, if it's true, I would have given him the money versus having him take the money like he did and not fulfill his end of the bargain. And I was going to let it go. But Claude's like, no. $2,000 is a lot of money. And then when I saw a pattern, and I Googled his business, then I said, I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. So I ended up contacting the sheriff's department to see what they could do. And the first was, let me call him and see if I can't get through to him that he needs to pay you back. Because at this point, I don't want the work done. because I know he's pissed at me for calling him out. I get one text from him saying, I'll call you later today, and then he never calls me. It was on a Friday morning. And I'm thinking, if you got time to text me, call me. Because if I'm going to have a conversation in depth about anything, I need to do it verbally on the phone or in person, because I think a lot of times text messages and Facebook messages and all those can be taken out of context if you aren't with the person. You know, it can be read as something that it isn't, or, you know. But he blew me off. And actually tried saying that it was my fault. So I had the deputy get a hold of me again yesterday, and he said, where are we with that? And I said, well, he hasn't called me. He hasn't. I said, I've texted him a couple times, but nothing. He said, well, how long are you willing to wait for your money? And I said, well, I don't know. You know, I said, I don't think I'm going to get the money back, to be honest with you. And he said, well, let's do it this way. He said that $2,000 is a lot of money, and let's give him 3 months. He said, I'll make sure he understands that. And he needs to pay you back the full $2,000, not $1,900, not $1,800, $2,000 to make you whole again. And I told him, just Google his company, and you'll see the reviews, and you'll see that I'm not the first one. So he gave this fella a good stern talking to over the phone and told him, if I find out you did this again, I will arrest you. And that you have this period to pay back Mr. Edie, period. This is a typical point of why most businesses go off track and go off the wayside. Is he may have started that business and was doing good, but whatever the reason, he started, taking advantage of other people. And the customer service to the people that he was working on, he would be great the first time you meet him, but after you've known him for a little while, then you realize the real him, and you can't fake it till you make it, right? So why did I go into that in-depth thing, what's going on with me? Because I like to use examples of what not to do. And if you're in business and you're not being 100% honest with your customers, or you're making excuses of why it's not done instead of just saying, I didn't have time to get to it, whatever is going on between you and the customer, if the customer asks you a direct question, then you need to give them back an honest answer. Simple. How long do you think you're going to stay in business if you start taking money for projects and then not fulfilling those commitments that you had with your customer? What if you asked for the parts money up front and you spent the parts money somewhere else to fix somebody else's machine, and now you don't have the money to fix their machine? That's on you. And if you want your business to fail, start lying about it. And start blaming everybody else instead of, number one, owning it, right? See, anything that goes on in this shop, whether it's, doesn't matter, mechanical or what, I take full responsibility for it. I have to, because this is my business. I have to own it. And then I need to find out what really went on so that I can be honest with my customer. You may lose that customer because you're being honest with them, but I'd rather lose a customer because I was honest with them about it than lose a lot of customers because I was dishonest. And most of you, if you've run a shop for a while, you're going to end up, because in this shop here, I would rather eat the bill than take advantage of a customer, period. And a lot of times, if I can't fix something, then I don't charge for it. And that doesn't take out of the mechanic's pocket. Anybody else's pocket comes out of mine. Because I do not want my customers to come out on the bad end of the deal. Period. That's why great customer service is going to win the day. And customers will find it refreshing, and my customers do, of just coming out and honestly saying what it is and how it is. I don't try to, butter things up or, promise people, that I can fix it by X, Y, and Z. I've learned that a long time ago. Under promise, over deliver. Period. Because if you under promise and you over deliver, the customer is going to come back. If you over promise and under deliver, it leaves a bad taste in that customer's mouth. And as in this case with that fella, you're seeing it on the BBB, on Yelp and everything, all the reviews. People are posting because we're not honest with them. What they're saying is honest and how they feel. But on the flip side, any of us that have been in business for a while, we're going to get a customer that no matter what, you're not going to be able to please. And when I first started the business, I thought that, well, if I could only show that person how good we are, And every time it was like pulling teeth. They didn't want to pay for pickup and drop off. They didn't want to pay for this. They didn't want to pay for that. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for that. My only way out of that was I finally had to tell the customer, look, we're just so busy. I really can't work on your stuff. And that working on your stuff, no matter what I do, you're never happy about it. Now that can go two ways. That can flip the customer out and he can go pissing and moaning to everybody else. Or he may find it refreshing that you stood up for you in the shop and called him out. I've had guys that are pain in the asses start laughing when I tell them, look, you're a pain in the ass and I'm tired of dealing with you. Because they've never been told that. But they learned early on, if they were like that, they could get the bill reduced by bitching and complaining. I still have most of those customers, but they don't bitch and complain anymore. Because no other place will take them because they can't deal with them. Right? So I'm going to start wrapping this up. I wanted to do a shout out to Jeff. I did get your message, and I appreciate it. And the message Jeff had talked about is in California, they had a study go on that supposedly a Toyota Camry 6-cylinder put out less emissions than a two-stroke blower. And knowing that California is very strict on their emissions, vehicles that are sold here in New York or being driven here in New York, a lot of them cannot go to California because they won't pass the emissions. So when you start looking at emissions, Jeff, this is the only thing that comes to my mind is A, the Camry is gas, and it's got all these emission devices on it to reduce emissions. Your blower is two-stroke, and with it being two-stroke, it's burning oil, so it's emitting exhaust while it's burning. So that may be where the study came into play, was the amount of oil being burned off on a two-stroke blower compared to a six-cylinder Camry. Now, I have no way, honestly, of being able to do a study and tell you, definite this is why X, Y, and Z. But common sense tells me, yeah, a blower would put off more emissions in California if it's a two-stroke, because it's burning the oil, where the car isn't burning the oil, it's just burning fuel. And there's a lot of emissions devices in that to reduce the amount of coming out the exhaust, if that makes sense. So the moral of the story is, and I've posted this numerous times, is you got to give great customer service. And you got to have somebody out front that is not on their phones when you're doing business. If they're at the counter and they're dealing with customers, I don't want them on their phones. I don't want them doing anything other than what their job is. And that is being attentive to customers. If a customer walks in with something in their hand, I don't want them to be standing there while my employee is looking at his phone and texting his buddies or what have you. So you have to have the right person out front, and then you also have to have that person be totally honest with the customer. Period. And that's how you're going to win the day. So on that note, you guys have a great Saturday. Like I said yesterday, Claude and I are going to an auction this morning. And I was going to sit, but the boys aren't coming out until tomorrow morning. Zach might come out tonight, and we'll see how the auction goes. But on that note, you guys have a great weekend and enjoy. Thanks for watching.